Welcome to the Grap Up, your monthly blast of cold takes on the world of professional wrestling, available everywhere good podcasts are sold. I'm the intrepid traveler, Mark Robinson, and with me, the editor over at the Wrestling Observer. He is Brian Rose. We are here for May 2023, and when I did a check yesterday to kind of think about what we would be covering for May, about 300 events happened. So, Brian, I'm going to ask you how you are, but I'm not going to ask you what you've been playing this month because we just ain't got the time.
No, and there's so much I've been playing the last month, but I won't get into it. There's just too much to talk about on pro wrestling, and then this month is going to be crazy too because a Collision premieres later this month, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure a lot going on.
Yeah. I do want to ask how you are though, and ask how your trip to Las Vegas for Double or Nothing was.
I had fun. I was kind of like wondering if I was going to have a fun time because the buzz for this Double or Nothing is not as strong as the last few years. It feels very different. It doesn't feel like it has that buzz that it's had in previous years. But I did go. I went to the website convention and I had fun and I met a lot of people. I went to the Double or Nothing show and that was, for the most part, a really good show. The top two matches were really great and I had fun. Overall I had fun. I had a good time. It's just that things kind of feel different than they have in the past. It doesn't feel like as strong as it has like last year or the year before.
This is you've been to Vegas a couple of times now, I imagine.
Yeah, it's been a few times. I think I've been to every Double or Nothing.
Okay, so we're going back at least good 4 or 5 times then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have to imagine after the first couple of times, the appeal of Vegas, I feel loses a little bit of its charm. I mean, I've only been once myself, but I feel like the kind of gimmick of that town, you've kind of seen it, done it after the first couple of times.
I think what helps is that I only do it once a year. So every time I go, it's like, oh, this is fun. It's fun seeing all the lights. It's fun, going out and seeing a bunch of advertisements for everything under the sun. I kind of like doing that once a year at least, so that it doesn't work. That the actually going to Las Vegas and experiencing it once a year, that's fine with me. If I do it anymore, I mean, I'd probably agree, but um, every time I go, I have fun. And it's super easy to travel. There's always taxis and stuff everywhere, so that's always a plus to me.
I mean, there's also, did you ride Elon Musk's underground car train nonsense thing? I don't know what the official name of that
No,
thing is. No, no.
no, I'm not. I'm not interested in that.
Is that like kind of advertised up, or is it? Are you made
I ha-
aware
I
that that
ha-
thing exists?
I know he's interested in doing that stuff. I have no idea that's actually. I had no idea that's actually a thing that he's actually done.
Yeah, I saw a video clip a few months ago, and it's like a kind of carpool thing that's underground,
Huh.
and it's obviously these Tesla cars, so it's all automated, and you just a car that's kind of going single file underground, in something that absolutely in no way is any kind of catastrophe waiting to happen with a 6 car
Well,
pileup.
like on paper, that sounds like a good idea. In execution, I don't know how it's going.
I would like to suggest this revolutionary concept called a metro or a subway
Yeah,
or the
I
underground,
love
as we call it as well.
the one thing the United States needs is a light rail system. Is that what it's called? Like high speed trains.
I
So
mean,
we
it
can
depends
travel
on.
everywhere.
Well, I mean, considering the infrastructure of your overground rail system, considering
It's
events in
crap.
the past 6 to 8 months.
Yeah,
Yeah, East Palestine, Ohio. I'm thinking of you. Anyway, this is not the time for geopolitical events and whatnot. Let's get
yeah.
into less important things, but it's what we're here for, the wrestling. And I guess we'll stick with Double or Nothing. We're in that region, so yeah. As aforementioned, and we spoke about it last month, the build for this show wasn't by any means the strongest. In fact, I'd say it's probably one of the
No.
weaker, definitely one of the weakest post-pandemic builds that we've had with AEW, who have been on a hot streak.
I never want to hear the term pillars again. I
I
don't.
don't think it will be the last time. I'll just say that much. And overall, like going into this show, I was fairly cold. I didn't watch it live. I woke up the next morning and stuck it straight on. As you said, you were there live, and I guess let's jump into it. I know one thing that we obviously both differ on is kind of our overall views on the event. I did make my feelings known about a day or two later about how I felt about this show.
I remember that. You didn't like it.
No, and like, not to go kind of match by match about why I didn't like it, but the key things for me is that there was the kind of aforementioned stuff about like just the general build for the show as a whole, but there was also just the way that this card was structured and the way that the matches that we had in terms of just like straight one-on-one singles matches. We had barely any. We had a lot of gimmick matches. We had a lot of fuckery in a bunch of these matches, and for me, by no means obviously was it as brain scratching or as incoherent as a 2000s WCW pay-per-view, but at least in terms of the structure and the gimmicks and the just kind of excessive amount of wrestling that just wasn't two people in the ring wrestling, it had enough of that energy for me that it just kind of put me in a bad mood for quite a large portion of it, where I was just thinking that like Christian Cage and Wardlow, that could have been a singles match. We didn't need to have a ladder match.
No.
For the sake of Christian's body, I think I would have preferred that to be a singles match.
Both promotions are doing way too many ladder matches. They do every other month. There's one, and it's like you're gonna kill that gimmick dead someday.
Yeah.
Like they haven't yet, but man, I don't know why this was a ladder match. I have no idea why. It was fine, but like I didn't need it to be a ladder match.
Yeah. The unsanctioned match with Cole and Jericho, like you want to do any kind of like weapons field match on the same show as Anarchy in the Arena.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? It's just you're asking.
Yeah.
And considering that they did like the mixed tag on Wednesday with Britt and Cole against Jericho and Saraya, I was like, why didn't you just do that match instead? Because for a start, and I'm not like the person who's like, oh, there's not enough women in the card, but at the same time, it's like here is a chance to get two extra women on the freaking card who are an integral part of this program. You could have done that, and then you could have done the unsanctioned match on Wednesday and had like a singular kind of hardcore match on that show instead. Not that, like I imagine that match would have been any better because it wasn't particularly good. But that kind of altogether meant, but even by the time we got to the Four Corners match, I was in a pretty bad mood with this show. And then the Four Corners match was, look, as in terms of as high intensity and as athletic and as many moves as you can throw into a match, that kind of like PWG style that was popularized in the 2010s and onwards. It was all of that. But I was just so like not kind of interested in the match and the build and everything the show had given to me that I couldn't bring myself to enjoy the match.
It was a really good match. Do I think the build was good? No, it was not good. In fact, I think it really put back Jungle Boy a lot. I thought that wasn't a good feud for him in the long term. Darby Allin kind of a little bit too, but not as bad. Sammy Guevara, he's really talented, but like he's not a good promo, and he floundered here. It was very tough for him.
He wasn't helped by this build as well. Like
No,
there were numerous aspects. There were numerous aspects between their performances and the actual like why Guevara went heel face during the build of this match was just completely baffling.
I mean, there's like one point where he was just a complete heel, wanting to be MJF's friend. Then a complete 180 going total bayface, and it's like, are you still with Jericho? Like, what's the story there? Like why are you a face all of a sudden? It didn't make any sense to me.
And it just meant that, I had to watch the Anarchy in the arena match the next day because I was just in such a bad mood by the end of the Four Corners match. And I did go back and watch the Four Corners match. And again, like, I can't not give it less than 4 stars because in terms of the athleticism, in terms of just the effort put in, you cannot take it away from those four. They went in there to just give it everything. And, like, full respect in the world for that. The Anarchy in the arena match, I think I do prefer last year's. Like, some people were debating about whether they preferred this year's or last year's. I think last year's,
great.
they're both tremendous matches. Like, you cannot take that away. I think there's just an element of spectacle with last year's, and the shots of Eddie Kingston coming down to the ring with the fire, the gas canister, and the music playing over the arena. They did mix up a little bit this year, but it still obviously was derivative of last year's. I do think that last year's was for me like a 5-star match, and this was 4 3/4. But this was still, an entertaining spectacle.
I gave both 5. It's just watching that live is an experience. I just love seeing all that stuff going everywhere, people brawling everywhere into the crowd, backstage, just everywhere. There's people brawling, and those are the kind of matches I like. And towards the end of the match, I mean, there's stuff I remember for a long time, like the super kick from Matt Jackson that exploded somehow. That was remarkable. And then they took off his shoe and they gave an atomic drop onto the thumbtacks. And I think there's still pieces of thumbtacks embedded into his foot, which is very gross. But no, I mean, it was a remarkable spectacle of a match, and I don't think it was like the best wrestle match of that weekend. I think we'll get to that later with New Japan, but in terms of like an overall spectacle where just stuff is going on and it's all really cool, I mean, this was the match of the weekend. It absolutely lived up to its potential, to its build, and the build was pretty all right too. Yeah, I mean, it was a really great match. I really liked it.
How did that kind of come across live in terms of you got people all over the place? I imagine there's portions of the match that you're having to watch the feed on the screen to see what the hell was going on. Like, as a live experience,
you had to rely on the video screens, which are at the very top of the arena, and you watch them, and you just watch everyone go everywhere. I don't think I spent like too much time watching like what was actually going on in the ring. Towards the end of the match, when they all went back and they all did spots there, I did. But a lot of that match was watching it on the video screen and seeing people brawl around the arena into the crowd, stuff like that. It's a match where you can't pay attention to everything at once, and you have to like more watch it on the screen, which is fine for me. I don't know how it is for some other people, but that's normally how I guess you would watch a match like that. You have to follow the video screen because they also go backstage and also where that truck was, where they did the spots with the truck and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like other kind of things to point out from the show, I get. Oh, and actually, this was another thing that annoyed me as well, right? So the whole Tony Storm, Jamie Hayter, like we went into this knowing that Hayter was injured, not knowing to the severity of which he was injured, presuming that Storm was just going to take the belt off, and then, hopefully Hayter will be good in time for the London show. That would, make the most kind of logical looking sense. The way that they executed this, though, again, as kind of mentioned with the kind of like chicanery that had gone on with the rest of this card, I wish Storm had just gone in there and just killed her in a minute flat, and just, I get it that it doesn't kind of work with the sort of gimmick of what the hell the Outcasts are, but I just found this whole thing to be 3 minutes that felt about 12 minutes long, and this annoyed me as well.
They thought about it too much. Just have Hayter lose, and then build to the big match at Wembley where she regains the title. I'm guessing that's the idea. And that makes the most sense because you would want someone like Hayter to get a big win in London. But this match, it didn't need to be 3 minutes. You could have just done the title change. They thought about it a little bit too much. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I do think that's kind of one of the bigger issues with this pay-per-view build as a whole and its execution. There is a little bit of they just kind of overthinking things and not going kind of the route one approach.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of like why I'm so excited. New Japan is feeling like it's firing on all cylinders again, because
Yes.
one of the charms of New Japan booking as a whole is they are pretty. Nothing is overcomplicated, like
Oh,
most of the like we'll get to Okada and Kaito Kiyomiya because that whole thing. I don't know if you saw the All Together show yesterday or the main
I
event.
did. I tried watching it and then I went to bed.
Just watch the main event because
Okay.
it is tremendous stuff. And that's kind of I guess for next month, but like just the kind of route and approach of booking that New Japan does feels so refreshing against really just North American style booking at the moment. But that's a kind of long-winded tangent. Anything else on this show? I guess the 21-man blackjack battle royale. Why
That was really good.
yeah, while I wasn't particularly thrilled about the fact that it was another pay-per-view where we've got a match where we're just throwing everyone onto the
Yeah.
card, I do appreciate some aspects of like giving everyone a bit of a chance to kind of get some screen time. It does kind of make like it makes a lot of these people just kind of feel like goobers in this match where you'd be better
Yeah.
off just doing a singles match. We did get it with Swerve and Orange a couple of weeks, just Dynamite just gone. But as far as kind of battle royale matches go, this was a very well kind of put together one. The final stretch with Swerve and Orange Cassidy was great stuff, and yeah, like one of the better battle royale matches you'll ever see.
Pretty much. I can't think of a better one recently. Maybe some of the recent Royal Rumbles, but this was really good stuff. The last few minutes with Orange Cassidy and Swerve were super, super great. Really, just really good stuff. One of the better battle royals you'll see. Absolutely.
And that's kind of it for me in terms of Double or Nothing. I think the kind of big thing past this to kind of mention is obviously we've got Forbidden Door, and the two matches that have been announced so far. Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson in what can only be described as the dream match of all dream matches,
Yeah.
and the rematch for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, who had quite the match at the Tokyo Dome this year. Yeah, like really, with those two matches, you can pretty much put anything else in this card and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think Tony Khan will do that. I think we still, have a couple of big hitters to swing, but boy, that's a 1-2 punch, huh?
Yeah, those are two matches that I have complete and total interest in. I kind of want to see how they go. I am kind of disappointed we're not going to get to see Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson like we were supposed to last year, but Danielson got injured, and that I guess that's out for right now. But him and Okada, I mean, they're going to have an incredible match. I don't see how this won't be an incredible match. And Osprey and um, uh,
Omega.
Osprey Omega, yeah, they're going to have an
Yeah,
incredible
that
match
guy. You
too.
might
I
have
mean
heard of him.
that I kind of blinked out for a minute, but I know they had an incredible match at the Tokyo Dome this year. It was the match that set the standard for all the other matches in 2023. I thought that was one of the better matches I've ever seen. And then Bryan Danielson and MGF had that match the next month, and that was also an incredible match. But um, yeah, this is shaping up to be one of the better cards of the year. I don't know what else they're going to add. I know there's rumblings about Kenta and CM Punk. Whether or not that happens, we'll see. But this is probably going to shape up to be one of the better cards of the year. And even if they fill up the rest of the card with tag matches, I think that's still going to be a great show. So we'll see. That's going to be a really fun card, I think.
Yeah, the Zack Sabre Jr. Danielson thing, I think it's a case of like that is a dream match, but it's not a money match. in the same way that Okada Danielson, like you put that's the headliner. And I
Yeah.
guess you could go with Omega and Ospreay as the headliner as well. I don't think anyone would have complained if that was the case.
No.
In regards to Kenta and Punk, I, I
Yeah.
like there's the morbid curiosity of seeing that thing. Obviously, we don't know how Punk is going to be, considering he's been gone for a year. But like Kenta, and I was watching some 2005 Kenta the other day, and I haven't really thought too much about like Kenta in 2023, but man, you watch like 2005 Kenta and you watch current day Kenta, and it is two different wrestlers. And look, that man's wrestled a hard style. He's had his injuries. Like I don't hold it against him, but I wonder what a Punk and Kenta match in 2023 looks like, and I'm not sure it's going to be that good.
Kenta is someone at this point where he has a very good aura, and he has a very good personality when he comes to the ring. He has charisma, no doubt about it. Once you get into the ring, it's kind of like 50-50. Like what are you going to see this week out of Kenta? And it's very much a crapshoot. Now, this is going to be one of the higher profile matches that he'll probably have this year, if
Oh,
it
absolutely.
happens.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he's on, but I don't know if he's going to be on. And Punk, it is true he's been out for a year, and despite everything that's gone on in the last year, he's still one of the better wrestlers in wrestling. I think he's really good. And we'll see. I don't know how this will turn out. This could go a lot of ways. Like, it's not a guarantee that this will be as good as the other two matches we just talked about. But then again, it might not even happen. Who knows? It's rumored at this point. So we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like the only way that this match could work is if they just go in there and stiff each other for 7 minutes, get in, get out,
Maybe.
and be done with it. But considering the injury prone like nature of both of these wrestlers, which
Yeah.
they're
Both
both
of
in
them
their
have
they're
both of
both in
them
their
have
mid
had
40s at this point.
injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But that is AEW for now. Let's jump over to WWE/NXT. We've got 3 events here to cover, starting with the earliest, Backlash, which took place from Puerto Rico, which was the first time they'd been there since was it 2005 or 2006?
I think the last pay-per-view was 2005 with New Year's Revolution, but
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
2006.
It's one of them because they did a New Year's Revolution in 05 and 06, and they did elimination chambers of both of them, but I can't remember. I can't remember which one's
Sorry.
which. But regardless, the kind of most notable things from this show, Bad Bunny in a singles
Yeah.
match in a San Juan street fight defeated Damian Priest in only the most impressive celebrity outing since last month with Logan Paul against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I guess even more impressive because Bad Bunny, by trade, is not based in athleticism as his professional output in a way that Logan Paul is. But yeah, like smoke and mirrors obviously be damned. This thing was a fucking highly entertaining spectacle.
It was a spectacle. I mean, and we should talk about this crowd, which is hot for everything throughout this show.
Oh,
One of the
incredible
hotter
crowd.
crowds you're ever going to see. Just not, and I'm not even talking about WWE. I'm talking about ever. It was super hot the entire show. They were going ballistic for everything, and this match was a spectacle. They just brawled everywhere. There were people involved. Savio Vega got involved. Carlito got involved. Bunch of weapons, but in a good way. I mean, sometimes I get tired of seeing weapons matches, but in this environment, in this crowd, it was really cool. I really liked this match. It was just stuff going on everywhere, and it was brutal looking. Bad Bunny took a lot of damage. He looked wrecked after this match. I think he posted like a picture of his back or something. It was all mashed up. It was they fought very hard, and it was a very physical match, and it was a very memorable match. Bad Bunny is, for someone who has like no physical background in anything, no athletic background, he's really, really good at this. And he and Damian Priest did a lot too. I have to give him props too. He did a lot of stuff here.
You really saw the kind of ring general side of Damian
Yeah,
Priest, in that you've probably never seen before because he's never had the opportunity to be in that position.
yeah. They're putting him in that position now, and now he's stepped up. I think he is reaching like main event level status, and this
It's
kind
only a
of
shame it's only a shame he's already in his early 40s, but look, what are you gonna do?
well, I mean, then now it's the time to reach this level. Um, yeah, I mean, he had a great match. He and Bad Bunny just worked really hard, and they had a really good match, and the crowd was into it, and you can't ask for more than that.
I think one thing we're definitely seeing between WWE looking at more kind of international events. Obviously, AEW with the England event. Like,
Yeah,
there is this real argument to be made, and it's kind of amazing it's taken this long for, like, hey, we should probably be doing more events in countries that don't get these large scale wrestling events. Obviously, we've got WWE going to be in London for Money in the Bank,
yeah.
and I imagine the crowd for that is going to be red hot. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
really like, yeah, I obviously there's a lot of work and coordination that has to go into doing events in other countries, and it's not a thing you can do every month. But between the business
no,
and between just the crowd reactions, like, it's just, yeah, this Puerto Rico crowd. You think about like the Montreal crowd for Elimination Chamber
yeah.
a couple of months prior.
That was also hot, but not this hot.
No, no. I mean, like when Bad Bunny came out, like, geez, this. And here's the
Yeah,
thing, because I don't really have a full understanding and appreciation for the scale of celebrity that Bad Bunny is. Like, I'm not in those
yeah.
circles, so I can't
When I
tell.
first heard of his name, I had no idea who he was.
Yeah. And look, he's obviously now he's an international superstar. He was in Bullet Train
Yeah,
last year, which I watched for the first time the other night. Not the best film,
he
but I
headlined
digress.
Coachella.
Headline Coachella, like, he is as international superstar
He's
as
a
you can
big
get.
deal.
Yeah. And for him to fucking go out there for 25 minutes
Yeah,
and just have this sort of match,
he didn't need to
obviously,
do this.
no, but it speaks obviously how much he is a fan of the product. It helps legitimize WWE, which is kind of a bizarre thing to think about considering how long they've been around. But to have
Yeah,
that kind of seal of approval, because it's been a long time since you've had, uh, the Rock and Wrestling connection and that
yeah.
kind of stuff. To have someone of this kind of scale come in and not only come in and participate, but be involved in a match as well, it's incredible. It's unbelievable. And I'd be stunned if they're not back in Puerto Rico. I'd be stunned if they don't go back to Puerto Rico again until like 2035 or whatever kind of span
Yeah.
of time again.
What I'll say about Bad Bunny's popularity is you can't match his popularity that, bringing in like Cyndi Lauper and all these other rock and roll stars of MTV back in the 80s, or even Tyson and Austin in the 90s. You can't bring back that kind of um, mass market appeal celebrity because these days everything is just so fragmented. Just people are watching stuff everywhere, and people are getting popular everywhere based on a bunch of stuff that not millions, tens of millions of people are watching, maybe millions. But I think in terms of, bringing in somebody who is a big star, I think Bad Bunny is on the level of those kinda.
Yeah.
About as good as you can get in 2023, where all media now is fragmented, and it's very, very hard to find like a super top level mainstream celebrity that everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's very hard these days.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
as easy as it was uh, 30, 40 years ago. So I think he is the best example of somebody becoming like a mainstream celebrity star coming into WWE and doing this kind of stuff. And Austin and these other guys never wouldn't even do something like this. So it's very cool for Bad Bunny to do it.
Elsewhere on the show, Bianca Belair defended her Raw Women's title, defeating Io Sky in a really good match. That was a bit disjointed by the fact that the crowd was very much behind Io Sky.
They want Io to win.
And WWE is a product presented in such a way that the wrestlers can't exactly turn the match on a dime and go with what the crowd is doing. So that was a bit of a problem. But like the sheer kind of talent and athleticism of both female performers meant that it bypassed enough of those issues where it was still a really entertaining match. Like Io Sky has been. Obviously, she's been part of Damage Control and she's at least had part of an act on the main roster, but she's still, for me, been pretty underutilized since her addition to the main roster. So hopefully this is, she's in Money in the Bank with Bailey. So she'll get more of a chance to kind of show off her skills. But this is a great showing between the two. But yeah, just the crowd reactions and the match didn't exactly kind of connect together, but this is what happens when you have wrestling presented in this way.
Yeah, it was a really good match. And Io Sky, I don't know. We'll see. They were teasing a Damage Control split for a while, but then they dropped that. And I think it's because Dakota Kai got injured. It's gone for a long time.
Yeah. I'd say there's half a chance that you could probably end up doing maybe like a tag match with them against Ronda and who the hell's her tag partner? The name escapes me.
Shayna
Baszler. There we go. Jesus. I was thinking of Shotzi Blackheart. I was like, that's definitely not Ronda's tag partner. Yeah, maybe you could do something with them and then do the split. But yes, obviously the very unfortunate injury to Dakota. What was it? Was it a torn ACL?
I think it was ACL, yeah.
That's never good.
9 months.
Oh, we completely forgot to mention, obviously, Statlander's return at Double or Nothing. And that was another thing that annoyed me. No, you do not end Jade Cargill's run like that. You build that match up, right? That annoyed me. But anyway, we're past that now.
It's over.
Yeah, Seth Rollins defeated Omos in, I guess, what you'd probably classify as Omos' best match at 3 stars.
Yeah, sure. I thought the Brock Lesnar match was decent.
I mean, it
wasn't as good as the Seth Rollins match, but
yeah, I didn't think much of the Brock match, in fairness. I feel like Seth got at least a little bit more out of him. Yeah. And then I really kind of the rest of the card actually is fairly forgettable. Obviously, Zelina got a massive response, understandably. But then, yeah, really up until the main event, there wasn't too much else to talk about. And then the Cody Brock match was all right, but this Cody Brock feud is not clicking with me. And oddly enough, even though he's in a feud with Brock Lesnar, I'm finding Cody more and more each week is becoming just another guy on the roster. And considering where he was a month ago, that is not where you want this guy to be. And obviously, look, business is still doing really well. Ratings are solid. Tickets are being sold to the events and whatnot. But just for me, my perception of seeing Cody on television, he's just becoming another guy. And that is not where you want him to be. If they want him to be, a big super mega star.
I haven't seen that yet. But the thing of it is, he should have won at WrestleMania. I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, he should have won at WrestleMania because all this would have been more compelling if he had beaten Roman Reigns, and he didn't. And now we're going through this period of, well, Cody clearly. I mean, the future plan clearly is Roman Reigns and Cody at next year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The thing is that they want to have Cody lose before then, and and he did. We're going to get to that right now with Night of Champions, but this feud with Brock Lesnar, I think, is going on a little too long. I think it would have been just better if Cody got the one win, and it kind of just moved on. But no, they're gonna drag this out to SummerSlam and with a new stipulation. I don't know what. But in terms of basic storytelling, I think it makes sense because you do the rubber match. If you're going to do a 3-match series, it makes sense for Cody to lose the second match. And they went out of their way to give him an out. He has a broken arm, quote unquote, and he's dealing with that. And I don't think this is like a WWE push where it's like, okay, we're going to put you in the main event slot for a few weeks, and then we're going to make sure to tell everyone, okay, this is over. He's not a world title level person. I don't think this is the case. I think it's a case where it's like we're having this long, drawn out story about Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, and we need to give Cody an out, so we're going to break his arm, and we're going to somehow clear him, even though we have medical stuff and we've banned people for a lot worse. But we're gonna let Cody wrestle this one time.
Yeah.
Which didn't make any sense, but whatever. and then like the cast was legal, even though this wasn't a no DQ match. So like, how does that make any sense? It doesn't.
Yeah.
You just have to accept it and move on. But yeah, I mean, this match was dramatic and I thought it was very well done. And we'll talk about the other match right now, but like, this match was good. I don't think it was great, but it was good, and I guess it's starting a story that will conclude at SummerSlam. So we'll see how it concludes. I mean, Cody should win that. He better win that if the main title program for next year is Roman and Cody again. That he needs to be beating people like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
he does.
And I guess a large portion of it is going to come down to what the stipulation is for the third match. There's been a lot of rumblings about what that will be, and look, hey, I think if you get something like a bull rope match or a dog collar match or something that we've seen Cody do and be very successful with, there's a good chance they could pay it off. The problem, obviously, is the way that you get that kind of WWE presentation of Cody. Means it's going to be quite challenging. And I just think as well that regardless of what they do, there was such an organic build to Cody being in the position he was, based, all off the back of that performance he did in last year's Hell in a Cell match. You can't duplicate that.
You can't capture that again.
You can't force that, and it does feel like there's a little bit of them trying to do that
with
the arm.
That's exactly what they're trying to do, because they know that. So they tried doing it again this year, but it's not as organic, and as a result, it feels much more forced. And it's not as compelling.
Yeah, so that's where that is. So this event was then followed up by Night of Champions, the first Saudi Arabia show of the year, where we had the inaugural champion, I guess, for the WWE World Heavyweight title. Did they officially declare is this canon to the 2002 to 2013 title?
I don't think so. I think it's a new title.
I guess my first question for you is, what do you think of the design of this thing?
Ugly. I don't like the design. I like the old world title a lot better than this one, but their mentality is we need to have the WWE logo on to make sure we have the WWE logo on this belt, and you need to see it. So I think that's the design, the idea behind the design. I think they're going for the old. You kind of see things of the old world title, old remnants.
Yeah, it's the big gold belt with the WWE logo slapped in the middle.
Yeah, I need to go clear my nose. I'm really stuffed up. I will be right back.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk about the world title. It's ugly. All right. It's an ugly world title.
Okay. So they presented this thing, and it is obviously part of the kind of ongoing brandification. I don't know if there's a kind of like marketing term that you would use, but it just follows the trend of the major WWE titles having a big WWE logo slapped in the middle. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done it with the tag titles yet. Like Kevin and Sammy are still holding both the Raw and SmackDown tag belts, and I would have thought at some point that they would have created a unified tag belt that kind of followed a similar pattern with that design. I don't entirely hate the big gold belt, this kind of new world heavyweight title, partially just because the big gold belt still is in there, and that is still obviously a beautiful looking belt. And even slapping a WWE logo in the middle of it can't completely ruin it, though they obviously did a good job. Um, in terms of the actual match itself, it was, as solid and decent a match as you're going to get with Seth and AJ Styles in 2023. Like Styles, this was probably kind of one of the stronger performances Styles has had in the last few years. He, busted out a couple of moves. He busted out the sort of springboard versus DDT that I hadn't seen him do in a while. And this match was fine, but it wasn't exactly kind of like it was a WWE kind of main event style world heavyweight title match that you would see in 2023. It was all right. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I was just kind of saying, I thought the match was pretty decent. By no means is it like going to be a match at the end of the year that I'm going to think of.
Yeah, the world
but
title match.
As kind of as good of a match as you're going to get between Seth and AJ in 2023.
Yeah, it was about as good as a match as you're going to get. Seth Rollins is one of the best wrestlers in that company. So, I mean, and actually, this was going to be a very good match. And it was a very good match, but not really anything more than that. It's not going to be a match that I'm going to remember by the end of the year. I completely agree with that. It's a very good standard main event WWE title match. And that's good. That's good, but it's not like a match I will remember this time next month.
Yeah, there was a fair few other matches on this card. Trish and Becky did nothing for me.
I thought that was good.
I
A lot
didn't
better
hate
than
it.
I thought it would be.
It was fine. It was aggressively fine, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't doing much for me. Gunther and Mustafa Ali was pretty decent. I wish he'd gotten a little bit more time, but obviously, considering it's
That
Gunther.
match, I thought was good, but this is kind of like this Lita Vega match from Backlash, where it's like
Pretty
you're
much.
already telling me that he doesn't have any chance. You're not selling me on the fact that maybe he could win. And they did say like, oh well, maybe there's like a chance he could win, but then it's like, but he really doesn't have any chance of winning. And so, how am I supposed to get invested into this match when you're telling me that he has like a little chance of winning, like little to no chance of winning? Like I think Ali is very great as a wrestler, but like if you're going into this match and you're telling me he has like no chance of winning, like why am I supposed to be invested in it? And that's kind of what hurt the match for me.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that, absolutely. And it just doesn't help. And it's kind of weird with Ali, like him and Baron Corbin having this free agent status to appear on any show they want for reasons, even though wrestlers just appear on other shows anyway, like without reason. That's kind of a bigger.
This is brought up on Wrestling Observer Radio, but it was like, what if you were in WWE? Wouldn't you want to be a free agent so you can go wherever you want?
Yes.
Like, why is there a brand split?
Yes.
Like, why would I just want to be on one show? Like, if I'm Roman Reigns, why would I just want to be on SmackDown when I can go to Raw and beat Seth Rollins?
I mean, surely, considering Roman's character is to cheat his way out of every defense, I'm pretty sure he only wants to be on one show and is far away from other top talent.
Maybe.
Surely Roman should just want to be on NXT.
Yeah, he could just be NXT champion forever.
Yeah. Don't give them ideas.
That's another title.
Asuka surprisingly defeated Bianca Belair to end her year-long title reign in what was kind of an underwhelming match. I feel like this might have not been like
they're for whatever reason, and they're both of them are great, but their matches have just kind of been okay.
Yeah.
Not bad or anything. It's good, but like I expect a lot more from these two, and they're just kind of going out there and they're having an okay match, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of felt like a surprising, underwhelming end to Belair's
I
reign.
Once they mentioned that they mentioned that Bianca was longest running women's champion in modern history, I thought, oh, now they're starting to probably thinking about having her drop the title, and that's what happened here. Because
Uh,
right now they're all about records.
yeah,
They're all about breaking records, and everybody has a record that needs to be broken, and she broke it.
I
So
do wonder when Gunther breaks the Honky Tonks record, if he'll lose it pretty soon after.
that's a record that probably needs to be broken because really, a honky tonk man, you know, there's so many other champions in WWE that are more prolific than the honky tonk man. And I think one of the reasons why he was champion for so long is because he didn't want to drop the title.
Yes,
Back in the
yes.
days when you could do that, you could say, I don't want to drop the title to Randy Savage or whatever, or Ricky Steamboat. And they got away with it.
Yeah. Um, Brock defeated Cody. We kind of spoke about that a minute ago. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeated the bloodline of Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa when Jimmy Uso super kicked Roman Reigns in the ongoing, ever-going, everlasting storyline that is the bloodline and the tensions in between. Um, I thought this was actually a very good match. It wasn't as good as the Usos match from WrestleMania,
Oh,
but
but it
these
was
are two
good.
very decent matches that we've had now. This is really like the highest profile that the tag team championships have had in some time. That's
Yeah.
two shows, two pay-per-views that they've main evented this year, and one of them was WrestleMania. Yes,
Yeah.
it was night one of two nights of WrestleMania, but still, it's a main event nonetheless.
Yeah, the tag team title scene now is very hot. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are hot as tag team champions. The Usos are hot with this program. Um, yeah, it's really cool to see it headline. And this match was very good. Not as good as the main event from WrestleMania, the tag team title match. But this was a very good dramatic match. And it built to Jimmy turning on Roman Reigns, which got a big reaction. And we'll see what happens there. The bloodline stuff is hot. It's going very slowly, but it's very hot. And even last week's SmackDown rating, it was huge. People are invested in this storyline, and they want to see what happens next. And it's a very compelling storyline. It goes a little slow, but it's a very hot storyline.
Yeah, it does say, that while the nature of the storyline and some of the characters involved and whatnot, I'm not particularly invested in, but that could just be because WWE as a whole, I'm not particularly invested in. It
Yeah,
does go to show that if you actually do put investment into a story, you play out over a longer period of time, um, people will be involved into it and want to watch every week. And if you don't hot shot angles, hey, you can draw an audience in. I would make the argument, or I'd make the case, and I think you'd agree with me, Brian, that you could do this exact same storyline without Roman Reigns being the WWE World Heavyweight
yeah,
Champion. That does not is
exactly.
not an integral part. The
In
whole
fact,
fucking the
it
whole
makes even more sense.
the whole fucking tribal chief thing. You don't need the title on that. That whole thing could be done separate to that.
Yeah.
But here we are.
They want to elongate this feud for another year, and
Yeah.
I don't think it was necessary.
But at the same time, look, if the SmackDown ratings are what they are, you can make the argument that this is the right course of action to take. I still kind of suggest that you could probably be doing a storyline on SmackDown, have the ratings be good, and have Cody on Raw and have the ratings be good as
Yeah.
heavyweight champion. But whatever.
Sure.
And also, they could have had fucking Cody win, split the belts, then just have fucking either the King of the Ring or do a tournament, and then you can have a whole kind of tension between who's going to win the Universal belt back. Would Roman win the belt back? Would Sammy win? Would Jay win? Like you could do a whole thing with that on SmackDown. And anyway, armchair Booker. Let's just move on because I'm just going to get too annoyed. Something that did not annoy me and I thought was fucking tremendous was Ilya Dragunov and Dijak at NXT Battleground. The rest of this card, whatever, nothing to talk about. I thought these two went out there and just fucking maimed each other for 20 minutes in a way that Dragunov usually will do. You sometimes forget that he's probably one of the more effective sellers in wrestling, but that was also because Dijak was hitting him really fucking hard with a Singapore cane. And I just thought this thing, some of the melodrama with Dijak going on about, oh yes, don't make me do this, blah blah blah. That's just fucking Shawn Michaels production, whatever.
Yeah.
But I love this match. This was one of the better matches of the month for me.
I did not watch it because it went head to head with something, I think Double or Nothing. And I was at Double or Nothing, so I didn't watch this. But I heard nothing but good things about this match. So I need to go back and watch it. Like the build to this match, it was very corny.
Weird.
It really like Dijak being this really weird, corny 80s villain or something, and they give him very corny dialogue. But this was really I heard it was really good, and I need to go and watch it because they're both great. Dijak is great, but he is being given a dumb gimmick, and Dragunov is great. So I'm totally convinced this is going to be a good match once I actually watch it.
Yeah, the presentation of NXT as a whole, and this is, not just Battleground, but just NXT as a whole, is pretty fucking insufferable at this point. I think Vic Joseph and
Yeah,
Booker T are possibly the worst
Booker
commentary
T
team.
is so terrible. I don't know why people think he's good.
I
He
don't think people
he
think he's
comes.
good.
I, maybe I'm watching too much Bryan and Vinny where they think he's funny.
Do
I don't
they?
think he's
That's
funny.
because they've just let go. They've given up hope in terms of NXT being good.
Maybe. I don't think he's good at all. I don't
No,
think
he's
he's
terrible.
funny. I think he barely pays attention to the product. I think he barely knows people's names. I think they think that's like endearing or something, but it's not. It's like you have someone on commentary who is clearly phoning it in. He has no idea what's going on most of the time, and he's saying the same lines over and over. He has catchphrases that he keeps saying, and I don't know. It's not effective. I've never liked him as a commentator because he's not good at it, and yet there's people in charge. There's people in power who think he's good, and he's not. He's not at all.
No, and he
I
never
don't
has
think
been.
he's a
Never has been.
detriment to the product.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
NXT overall, there's some characters that I like. A lot of them ended up getting called up to the main roster, and now they're kind of in like a rebuilding period, and a lot of the stuff right now isn't clicking for me. But then again, this is developmental, and everybody's finding their groove, and everybody's finding their place, their character, their in-ring work. But there's still a long ways to go for a lot of these people.
Yeah, I think the overall presentation, between the fact that the theme music of pretty much about 90% of all the wrestlers is
Yeah.
dreadful. The ring announcer is horrendous. The aforementioned Booker T and Vic Joseph, I think they're both dreadful. They do not work with each other in any way.
No.
The characters of a bunch of these wrestlers are like Joe Gacy. I'm glad that they dropped a lot of his shtick, but he's still like, oh, he wants to win the title because he wants to spread his message further. All right, whatever. Ava is fucking awful, and you would never think
They
that she was The Rock's daughter.
I was astonished by how not ready she was. She's been in developmental for 3 years. And in that match on Tuesday where they went out of their way to protect her, she did not do a lot of spots in that match. Then it was time for her to do spots with Ivy, who I think has improved a lot. And she went out there and like a deer in the headlights, she did not everything looked really awkward. Just not ready, and I'm like astonishingly not ready for someone that's been in that system for that long. It was really eye opening for me.
Yeah, she. Uh, what's the nicest way of saying that? That it factor, that kind of je ne sais quoi that The Rock has. I don't think she has it. But look, she's 21. She's got plenty of time. We'll see. But
She's fine as a manager.
I don't even think she's fine as a manager. I
Mm.
think she has anti charisma. I
I
am
mean,
not.
I mean, there's she's way better at managing at this point than wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. Elsewhere in this card, I mean, I thought that the Tiffany Stratton Lyra Valkyra match was pretty decent. Certainly for Stratton, who is obviously still very new to the business, but she has so much upside in terms of a
She
presence, in
has
terms of a
something.
look. Like I can fully understand, even though she's probably by no means the best wrestler that they have in
No,
NXT.
she isn't.
I think her overall presentation, it does scream superstar.
Yeah.
You do kind of worry that she might get brought up too quickly because, she just the her presentation. It's made for the main roster, but I do think that she does need another year or two down in developmental.
Yeah,
Uh, so we'll
she's
see.
improved, but like she needs another year.
Yeah. But again, her and Lyra Valkyra, who is someone I've seen quite a bit on the Irish independent scene since I've been living in Ireland. She's a solid hand. It's the best way.
She, she's she is good. She's kind of missing something though, like in terms of charisma.
Yeah, yeah. I just like again, her. She has this gimmick, and again, for a bunch of these wrestlers, they have these gimmicks that just. I feel like they're trying to kind of dial back into the kind of more like outlandish cartoon element of like the
Yeah,
kind of late 80s 90s era of
she
WWF.
she's the bird lady.
Yeah, and I just don't think you can go back to that era,
No,
or even modernize it because we
I
just
think it's kind of like a crutch that some of these people are given at first because a lot of these people that they are calling up to be on NXT TV, they are very new. So they are given this cartoony 90s, 80s WWF gimmick. I'm the bird lady, or I'm the resident streamer, or I'm the resident bad girl of NXT. And these are all fine in NXT where you're learning a character and you're learning how to do WWE promos and learning to do WWE stuff. But none of this is going to work once you get called up because they don't care about that stuff, to be frank, on the main roster. Um, and that's what a lot of these people need to learn eventually. Like Tiffany Stratton started out as the daddy's girl, if you remember,
yeah.
and they've kind of dropped that sense, and now she's trying to find something that's more main roster worthy, and that's where she's kind of struggling because she cut that promo a few weeks ago in the ring, and it went very long, and it went pretty much nowhere. Now she needs to find her groove as she is champion, and as she needs to find her groove as what is going to work on the main roster, because now we're kind of past this crutch of this cartoony character, and now we're trying to find who Tiffany Stratton is.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be her goal for the next few months.
Um, and then the main event, Carmelo Hayes defeated Bron Breakker to retain his title. Um, this is, probably one of the better matches that I've seen over these two have in a while. It still wasn't by any means like a great match. I think the big
They
thing.
haven't. I expected more from this feud, and they haven't really been hitting it.
I think the bigger thing is that if you're looking at these two to be kind of future main eventers on the main roster,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm kind of worried. I don't know if these two really
I
have
don't. I
the
don't see
aura,
it.
the charisma, the kind of just chops in the ring
I don't see it.
to
I think they might
yeah.
try with Braun. I don't see it with Carmelo. I think he's great, but do I see him headlining WrestleMania? No. Do I see them trying with Braun? Maybe. I think he might be better as a heel than a face. I think we'll see about that. But yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. I can't see these two being like world champion material. I just don't.
Um, on NXT, it wasn't after Battleground. It was the next NXT. We had Baron Corbin show up to start a feud with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. And have you seen like Baron Corbin's wrestling attire at the moment?
Yeah, it's like streetwear or something. Like he's MMA fighter or something. I
He
don't know
looks like
what's.
he's about to go and shoot some hoops down at the local
Yeah,
basketball
like
court.
he's wearing like a tank top and like gym shorts.
It is probably the
It's
worst
weird.
wrestling attire I've seen on a main event wrestler in some
I don't
time.
get what his character is right now. What's his character?
Well, it's
He's
kind of it's
past
a
happy.
mashup. It's a mashup of the Happy Corbin, he was rich character,
Yeah.
and well, there's none of the kind of lone wolf kind of aspects of him in there anymore. But like, I can only imagine that the attire is there specifically as like a kind of troll job, or to make you hate him because his attire is that bad.
Yes.
Because it's either that, or he's just completely given up
I don't
hope.
know. I don't know. The gimmick on the main roster is that he's a loser. I mean, he keeps losing a lot, and people make fun of him for being a loser, and they point out
Which
he
is fine
sucks.
because he is a loser and he does suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not a great gimmick to have, though, and not a great gimmick to push on NXT.
No, but it also, that's only in the very
Yeah.
long list of bad
I'm
gimmicks
guessing
that that
he's
man
there
has
to put
had.
over Carmelo eventually,
Yeah, you would
if
hope
that
so.
works.
You would hope so. All right, that is it for everything WWE related. So we can jump over to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where we had the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. And how much of the tournament as a whole did you see?
I watched the semifinals and the finals last night, and wow, a lot of good wrestling.
Okay, so very, very quickly, I will say that there was a bunch of decent matches throughout the tournament. Unsurprisingly, Mike Bailey was involved in a fair few of them. Hiromu Takahashi were involved in a fair few of them. From night one, Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado actually had a really, really strong match. Probably one of the stronger matches I've seen Kanemaru have in a while. And Mike Bailey and Hiromu Takahashi had obviously an excellent match as well, as you'd expect from them. Leo Rush and Hiromu Takahashi from night three, again, as you'd expect. Leo Rush had a really, really strong tournament overall. TJP and Hiromu Takahashi from night seven is worth checking out. And Mike Bailey and Ryusuke Taguchi actually was really strong as well. Taguchi was doing this tournament where he was basically trying to not be his usual, kind of focusing on arse-based offense as he tends
Yeah.
to be. And so he was losing a lot of his matches because of that. But this match in particular was really compelling because, again, Mike Bailey is just excellent. And yeah, I guess we'll kind of dive to the semi-finals and the finals, and give me your thoughts.
Well, Mike Bailey and Watto, right? Yeah, was that the match? Yeah, that was the match. Yeah, it was an excellent match. Um, and then Teton and let me bring up my notes.
It'd be Hiromu Takahashi. No, sorry, El Desperado was the semi-finals.
Yeah, Desperado and Teton. That was also a really great match. Um, I thought both of them were excellent main event semifinal matches. I was wondering if they were going to go all the way with Speedball, but they didn't. I think he should be around though because he's really good and he's having one hell of a year. Um, ever since he came back after that visa stuff, he's been on a roll. He's been incredible and he killed it in this tournament. He had a great match with Watto, and it was a really, really great match. And then Teton and Desperado. Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of Teton in CMLL, but here, I mean, he was really on. He was awesome. Desperado is always very good. He's very underrated. And people are calling that out. In the last couple of years, they really called out about how good he is.
He was one of the standouts during the pandemic. He really led through
Yes,
the company a lot
he
during the
was.
pandemic. Yeah.
He absolutely was as junior heavyweight champion. And him and Titan had a great match. And then the finals, wow. I know. I mean, I heard going in this was like a 5-star match, and I'm going in there. I'm like, now for the first 10 or 15 minutes I'm watching, I'm like, okay, this is very good stuff. And Teton did like a big jump onto off the what's the entranceway. He did a big dive, and that was incredible. And also in his semifinal match, he did a foot stomp. And his foot stomps are scary looking. I don't know what it is about his stuff, but Teton's foot stomps are very scary to watch. You can just feel it whenever he does it. And he goes to the top rope, and I think Desperado is down or something. And he goes for the foot stomp, and he lands like feet first on the pavement. And that I just felt that. I felt his knees buckling as he did that. That really smarts. It's not fun to do. But anyway, back to the finals. He's out there and he's doing the foot stomps, and they look scary. Um, they built it up, and by the last 5 or 10 minutes of this match, people were molten, like to a degree that I haven't seen in a long time. Like the people were hot in Puerto Rico for that WWE show. This was about that level or even more. They wanted to see Wato win this big time.
Yeah.
And it was so compelling. Those last few minutes were so compelling, and just Wato, whatever Wato didn't have when he first arrived, because I remember when he first came back from excursion, and he was not someone that I thought was like ready.
I mean, he's
But here
called
we
Master
are.
Watto. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
he was like the way of the Grandmaster, and he came out with this. His haircut was goofy back then, like it was super dyed blue, just didn't work. But now he's ironed all that out. People are getting behind him. He's gotten the big push this year. He did really well in the junior heavyweight title match at Wrestle Kingdom. I remember he got over in that match too. And over the last year, they've done a really good job of putting him over, not winning stuff. Aside from this tournament, he did, but he didn't win the junior title.
Yeah.
Um, they've done a very good job of making him a guy, but not going all the way with him just yet. But for this match, I mean, he won, and people were like super into it, and he celebrated, and it was a tremendous match. I wouldn't say it was like the match of the year, but it's kind of like in my top 5 matches of the year. It was very, 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 very good. And
It's just like I don't think anyone anywhere had Master Watto winning Best of the Super
no,
Juniors.
no,
Like Hiromu has won, was it like the last 2 or 3 years in a row? I can't remember the exact number,
I
but
think so, something like that.
yeah. And for me, I was kind of hoping that this would be finally Despi's year. I'm a big Despi fan, and I kind of been wanting him to win it for like a few years now.
Yeah,
So Master Watto was completely left field, but it also kind of speaks again. We were talking earlier about New Japan and their sort of Route One approach that they take, and a lot of time the booking is fairly obvious. This year, obviously, has been thrown wide open with Sonata as the heavyweight champ, Yota Tsuji headline in Dominion, Master Watto winning Best of the Super Juniors, but it's partially a case of like we're still kind of coming out of the pandemic and things are still a bit weird, so you can kind of just throw a bunch of stuff and kind of see what sticks. But also, like, look, you've got a bunch of younger wrestlers. New Japan have been given this kind of directive to push a bunch of younger wrestlers and get them to that level, sooner rather than later,
yeah.
which they were prone to do in the past. So it makes sense to do. I don't know if Master Watto will be, a junior heavyweight superstar in the likes of a Liger or Hiromu Takahashi is now.
I'm
But
seeing it now. I wasn't seeing it 3 years ago.
yeah, and I still think that his presentation and his look, there's still work that needs to be done. He still needs to kind
Yeah,
of like figure out a few things. But in terms of the work, like this was a phenomenal match. Like, it
Yeah.
goes without saying, this was an unbelievable match. This was by far the best match of his career. You know, he was given this opportunity to go out and just fucking just give everything, and him and Titan crushed it. And yeah, you know, obviously we'll speak about Dominion next month. He didn't win the IWGP Heavyweight title, which is fine because, you know, they're currently doing the story of Hiromu beating the I think it's 12 defenses is the record. So they're doing a story, so that's fine. I
They're
don't
doing
appreciate
another record storyline.
Yes, yes. But I think that, you know, Master Wato's time will come. I think he's only 26, so he's young, he's got time. But yeah, just a phenomenal best of the Super Junior. And like between this and between the G1 announcement and everything with that, I've said it a bunch of times over the last couple of years. I so wish that one of the top, more specifically AEW, would do these kind of round robin style tournaments.
Yeah.
I certainly think now the fact that they've got Collision, they have 5 hours of fucking television every week that they could
have
put
the talent pool for it. They have the time for it. Why not?
Exactly. They, over the span of like 4 to 6 weeks, which is only what, like fucking half of one of their pay-per-view cycles, they could do one of these things.
Do it, and the winner gets do it during the summer, and the winner gets a title match at All Out.
Yeah, look, there's so many ways they could do it. There's just but anyway,
Or maybe do it in the fall or in the spring if you don't want to do go head to head with the G1. I mean, that's the tournament everybody watches.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are ways you could do it where you could avoid, you know, yeah, you could try and avoid the G1 or Best Super Juniors, blah blah blah. But I just, yeah, I would love to see it one day, but you know, whatever. The other thing, the last thing I think we really kind of have here for New Japan is New Japan Strong resurgence from Long Beach, California, in the Walter Pyramid with an attendance of 2,903. And crucially, the big thing to talk about here is the fact that Willow Nightingale became the inaugural New Japan Strong women's title champion, defeating Mercedes Moné in the final in 13 minutes 34 seconds. From what I believe is the understanding, it was not the intended result, but Mercedes during the match realized that she was injured and called an audible, which is a pretty brave thing to do in a company where, you know, you've only had a couple.
You don't see it that often anymore.
No.
It was very surprising when Willow won, and later I found out, you know, this wasn't the planned finish. They actually changed the finish on the fly. I think the only time that came close was a few months ago on NXT when Indy Hartwell got injured during her match, and they had to call an audible almost, but she ended up coming out and they almost put the title on Tiffany there, from what I understand. And what they did was Indy Hartwell came out anyway, and they did the planned finish. But
yeah.
I actually remember that because Tiffany and Roxanne had to like improvise for a few minutes, and it wasn't that great.
Yeah, and I think with this though, it does speak to, you know, the level of love and passion that Mercedes has for this and the respect to realize, like, hey, I'm not good here, like, and to, because she has all the right in the world to have an ego as big as the Walter Pyramid, and for her to, you know, call this audible, I just think that's just such a sign of respect that she has. And, you know, who knows how much she knew about Willow Nightingale. I'm considering how much of a fan she is of wrestling. I would have to imagine that she at least knew about her going in. And Willow is a very strong champion to have, no pun intended. And, you know,
she's great.
And people were banging on to Tony Khan about, like, you know, hey, do you feel like New Japan have been utilizing her better? And I thought that was a bit unfair just because, like, look, yes, they've got 3 women's singles champions, but like you've got Jade Cargill, who, you know, you could argue maybe that Willow could have been someone to defeat her, but obviously Chris Statlander was the plan all along. You've got Jamie Hayter, who was on a tremendous run until she was injured, and then you've got Athena, who is actually probably like one of the more kind of stronger sort of like singles champions in wrestling that no one's probably really paying attention to because it's Ring of Honor. But she's tremendous as well. So it's like there's only so many singles championships to go around, and at some point Willow will have
I
her
think the
time.
problem though was that they had her lose a lot,
Yes,
especially in big
that's fair.
high-profile matches. And at this point, I think you need to do more with her than that. I think she's more. I mean, they probably see her as somebody that like people get behind, but ultimately she loses, and it's like, no, I don't think. I feel like if people see her losing all that much, that much frequently, then I think they're going to like lose interest in her, and you don't really want that because she has something, she has a charisma where you just want to get behind her immediately, and that's very hard to have in pro wrestling. Not a lot of people have that. And I remember watching her for the first time and her cutting a promo, and I'm like, wow. She has like charisma that not a lot of people have. So you need to go with that because not a lot of people can just be that naturally likable.
Yeah,
It's very hard.
yeah.
So you can't have her be like a B face that just loses all the time. You really can't. You need to give her some big wins, and it's just funny that New Japan was the one that gave it to her, inadvertently, but they still gave it to her.
Yeah, no, it's and look, hey, crucially at the end of the day, this is great for Willow. This gives her a bit more of a platform, and she's absolutely deserving.
Yeah.
And yeah, like elsewhere in this was a four-woman tournament. You had Mercedes Moné and Stephanie Vaca, who was someone I wasn't familiar with. She's a CMLL
Yeah.
wrestler, and I thought she was tremendous. I thought she had a
I thought
great
she was
showing
very
in this.
good.
Yeah,
I thought she was good enough to where I think she's going to get a lot of bookings going forward because she's somebody that stood out, and she was given a high profile match and she delivered. So you should be. I mean, CMLL's kind of like in their own little world where they don't want to really like do much with anybody, and anybody that goes to anywhere else is kind of like excommunicated and stuff like
yeah,
this. Very weird mentality to have in 2023, but whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, she needs to get more bookings and be more have a higher profile because wrestling in the CMLL these days. I mean, I hear a bunch of stuff about how CMLL is good and stuff, but like unless it's like the anniversary show, not a lot of people talk about it. Not, it's, there's just too much other stuff going on. So
yeah. I think that like maybe Impact is a good place for her. She could land,
maybe.
just because
But the thing
like,
is, they work with AAA. Yeah,
do
I
they
mean,
work with AAA?
they kind of do, don't they? They kind
Well,
of work with AAA.
I mean, they
Maybe
work
they
with.
don't anymore. I don't know.
Not that I'm aware. Maybe they did at one point. Yeah, maybe Psycho Clown Shadowbots. I know they kind of have more of an affiliation with New Japan, so by proxy CMLL. Um,
Maybe.
but yeah, it's all a fucking mess, and yeah, it's
The
too.
thing is that if anybody's working with AAA, CMLL doesn't want anybody working with AAA, and AAA works with a lot of people, so it
Yeah,
makes it hard for CMLL guys to go out there and get bookings when AAA is just everywhere pretty much.
yeah, and it's gonna make Forbidden Door a bit messy because you've got the likes of the Lucha Brothers, Andrade,
Yeah,
Bandito, I think as well. It's gonna make some
yeah.
things interesting with that, but what can you do?
Roosh apparently quit AAA today,
Oh,
so
really?
that's what I heard.
That doesn't sound like
He,
something he
he,
would
he
do.
you know he wrote a post on Facebook saying him and his father are gone.
Did he
We'll
end it with
see.
Tranquilo?
Maybe. I just feel like maybe this issue will be resolved by next month when they do their next Triple Mania show. Baruch is supposed to be like in a high profile match with I think he's seen with LA Park against somebody. Another guy who, you know, has a reputation.
Yeah.
Which like, AAA if you want to bring in those people in, cool, but like you need backup plans because a lot of these guys they bring in have their own agendas and they are very happy if they can get what they want. If they aren't, you need another plan.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing of note on this show that I think is worth mentioning, John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino defeated Kazuchika Okada, Rocky Mirror, and Tomohiro Ishii. Blackpool Combat Club and New Japan and six-man tags, they seem to be pretty good with them between this and the Dominion match.
Yeah.
This was just a whole bunch of fun. It's what's really interesting, I think, is that this is the first time where Kazuchika Okada has been just as interesting without being in the main event picture. And all he's really been doing is just doing these kind of six-man tags. But he's so fucking good. And obviously he came from doing, the excursion and doing a lot of like, kind of lucha six-man tags and whatnot, that he fits perfectly into that kind of mold. And obviously, Blackpool Combat Club, like Moxley is just always a good time. Shota Umino is far more interesting when he's next to Moxley, being like a mini Mox. And this was just tremendous stuff. Like, I again kind of doing the sort of armchair booking sort of thing. I wish with AEW they would do more of these kind of style six-man tags. But yeah, I thought this thing rocked, and like a really strong month, or really, I guess, strong couple of weeks for Blackpool Combat Club and Okada as a whole between this and the other six-man.
Yeah, I watched the show. I don't remember a ton of it other than Mercedes Moné getting injured. But I do remember that was a good match. I do remember Will Ospreay and Hiroshi Tanahashi had a good match. And we'll talk about Ospreay at Dominion next month. But yeah, I mean, they had a very good match. This was a good show. The thing is that there's so many shows, they all kind of blend together, and for this one, aside from the main event, I kind of forgotten like a lot of it.
The one last thing that I will bring up here, which I'm sure you didn't watch because it was on a Friday night, but TNA Impact Wrestling presented Under Siege with a world title no disqualification match between Steve Macklin and PCO. I don't know if you saw like the GIFs or any of the clips going around from this
Steve
thing.
Macklin was a bloody mess.
Yes, he was. Between that and between stapling PCO's lips shut.
Oh yeah.
This thing was
Gross.
fucking violent, and I had a great time with it. They're just a complete chaotic bloodbath. Not the kind of thing you want to do every month, but in terms of trying to legitimize Steve Macklin as a world champion, like PCO is not long for this world if he keeps this up, but God bless him while he's here, kind of putting in this sort of performance with this sort of effort. Just a very nasty match. And yeah, like Macklin, he was on the Muta scale there. He bled a gusher for the sport, and fair play to him for it. And I'd say this is worth checking out. But it is not for the squeamish. It's not for the faint of heart, because this thing got nasty. Let me tell you.
I heard Against All Odds last night was good.
No, I watched it this morning. For the most part, it's an okay show, but the main event, Alex Shelley and Macklin.
That's a big story.
Yeah, that's a big story. That's for next month, but that was a solid match, and yeah, we'll talk about that then. That is it for me in terms of what I've got. Do you have any other pressing matches that we should talk about here before we sign off?
Oh, no, unless we're missing like a really big news story coming out of last month. But I think we've covered all the high profile stories from across all these promotions. Yeah. I mean, WWE is pretty hot right now in terms of ratings and popularity. They're reaching levels that they haven't hit in a couple of years, and I think a lot of that's the Bloodline stuff. AEW is kind of not as hot. A lot of that stuff, a lot of their stuff over the last month has been CM Punk drama, which I do not want to talk about because it's very much like, you know what, whatever, I don't care. And New Japan, I think they're finally hitting their groove after the pandemic hurt them a lot. The no clap crowds really hurt those shows. They kind of made me like very uninterested in a lot of their stuff. But I'm watching their stuff this year, and it's just feels super hot for everything. And they are in a period where they're pushing new guys, and they're not pushing them to the top just yet. But it's very clear that there is a changing of the guard that's kind of going on there right now, and they're pushing new guys, and they're getting over, and they're very good. So that's going to be interesting to see over the course of the next couple of years, because for all this talk, I used to remember saying, New Japan's very stagnant. They're the same people on top, and now they're going in a new direction with new people. Even Sonata is the world champion right now. So we're seeing a lot of changes in New Japan. I think they're for the better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
that's
I will say the G1 lineup and the announcement that we got with 32 wrestlers. I won't say that I'm particularly looking forward to watching that entire thing.
yeah.
There,
I
there's
can't. I can't. There used to be a period where I would watch every G1 show. That was back when it was like a 10-day tournament. This is now
yeah,
like a month-long tournament
yeah.
where there's 4 different blocks, and the talent pool. There's some people in there where I'm like, why are they in there? But then again, it's like Yujiro and Bad Luck Fale aren't in there, so at least that's an upgrade. Um, some of those I'm interested in seeing Kaito Kiyomiya. I'm interested in seeing Eddie Kingston in that tournament. There's fresh faces. There's fresh faces in that tournament, and I want to see how it does. But I can't watch a month-long tournament anymore. There's just too much other stuff going on.
Yeah, I will probably have it on in the background while I'm working. That's kind of how I approach these G1s every year. And I do appreciate. I think by the looks of it, there's 4 G1 matches every day, which is nice because it just means I can jump in for those and get out.
Yeah,
So there's pros and cons to the way that they've approached this setup. But yeah, it's a stacked roster. Realistically, there's only a handful of people that are actually going to win this thing.
yeah,
God bless Shane Haste, but I don't think that's going to happen. One interesting thing they're doing this year is they are having quarterfinals, which I think for the first time ever, which is super interesting. So, that's going to add an extra kind of layer of intrigue into who makes it to the
yeah.
finals. And we'll probably talk about that more. I don't know if we'll talk about it more next month, but obviously the month July is when the G1 kind of starts, so we'll talk about that then. But for now, I gotta ask you, Brian, who would be your wrestler of the month of May?
Oh, I picked out promotion, but I didn't pick out wrestler. Let me see. Based on my ratings, I spent all last night updating my ratings. So looking at my ratings, there doesn't seem to be anybody that immediately stands out. Um, Maybe let's just go with Master Wato because he had a great month. He won not the G1, Best of Super Juniors.
I don't think he's doing that anytime soon.
I don't think he's doing it now. But no, he's finding his groove finally. Because I remember when he came in, he had the goofy haircut, he had the goofy gimmick, and still kind of goofy, but whatever. And he struggled for a long time because he did not get over initially, and he wasn't that great initially. Even though he, as a young one, I thought he was very good, but once he graduated and became a main roster guy, I came back from I think it was CMLL where he was on excursion for a while. Um, he struggled for a while, and now he's finding his groove, and he had a very good match at Wrestle Kingdom, and he's improved a lot, or even since then. And people are behind him, and he had an incredible match with Teton, and I'm very interested in seeing where he goes from here. I think he is going to be that junior heavyweight guy that they go with for the next 10 years. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not like 100% sold, but I'm closer to thinking that than ever before because before that I was thinking like Show was going to be that guy.
But then they had him go with the House of Torture, and now he is a horrible wrestler. So, yeah, so now the field's wide open, and Wato is getting close to filling that void, because eventually Hiromu is going to be phased down, kind of like Kushida, and that's actually like a story that I'm kind of watching. Kushida lost the junior tag titles with Kevin Knight, and he's on like kind of like a losing streak.
Yeah.
So
I think a heel turn is
that's
imminent for
interesting.
Kushida.
I am thinking heel turn eventually. I guess they're going to do something with him and change up his character or something. Should be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see what
For
happens
me,
there.
I got Hiromu Takahashi. I think I have 5 matches with him that I have over 4 stars. Just a tremendous best of the Super Juniors tournament. And Hiromu is one of my leading candidates for Wrestler of the Year. Just he's really firing on all cylinders after having a bit of a wonky kind of time during the pandemic. I guess kind of still finding his footing a bit, like coming back from the injury from like 3 years ago now. But he's really kind of like found his footing again, and is just, hey, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Not a big surprise there, not a big shocking statement from me. Your match of the month. I kind of get the feeling I already know what it is.
I will go with. And actually, it's either Anarchy in the Arena or the Best of the Super Junior Finals. But I think I'm going to go with the Best of the Super Junior Finals, because as much of a spectacle as Anarchy in the Arena was, that was a big time spectacle, and it was so much fun to watch live. That Best of the Super Junior Finals, those last few minutes were incredible, and I've never seen crowd heat like that, at least in a long time. Just super super match that I was not expecting going in. Even though I was told this is going to be an incredible match, I was like stunned by the end, just how good it was. So I'll go with the Best of the Super Junior Finals.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. I'll go with that as well. You could make the argument for the Anarchy in the Arena match, but I think I always will prefer if there's the chance to go just like a straight singles match. And that kind of magic of like the finals of a tournament. You can only get that kind of magic a few times a year. And I think as well, just the fact that you've got 2 guys who were not, I guess, kind of Master Wato to some degree. I don't know as much about the background of Titan, but to give these 2 the opportunity to go out there for a finals and just kill it, and them actually doing so, fair play to them. So, yeah, I will go with you on that one. And finally, your promotion of the month of May 2023.
I think I will go with New Japan. I just think about all the promotions this month, and I kind of talked about it a little while ago, but WWE's hot, but their TV is kind of like whatever. AEW, the build to Double or Nothing was very lackluster, and they kind of seem to be all over the place. Just in terms of Collision and the CM Punk drama, and more content that I don't know if, in the long run, I don't know if it's a good idea, but whatever. There's still good wrestling on that show on Dynamite, but the storylines are kind of not clicking for me a lot. New Japan just feels very hot right now. And I think it's the youth movement. I think it's the very hot matches. Dominion was a very good show. I think actually one of the better shows of the year, but we'll talk about that next month. Yeah, it's just New Japan just feels way hot right now. Way more hotter than AEW. WWE, the ratings tell a story, but in terms of in-ring stuff and in terms of storytelling, it's still New Japan right now. So I would go with them.
Yep, fully in agreement. A great best of the Super Juniors tournament. Obviously, Dominion is next month, but that was a tremendous show as well. Resurgence was a fun show. Wrestling Dontaku was a fun show, which we didn't even get to. Just, yeah, across the board. Like, New Japan is a constant, and they're back. It feels like they're back to full force. They're swinging again on all cylinders. They're firing on all cylinders. So it's a good time to be a New Japan fan again. But that will do it now for another month of the Grap Up. As always, like, listen, share, and subscribe. We appreciate any support from listening to the show. And that's it for now. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Lippin Projects. You can find Bryan at BR26. And we'll be back next month where we'll have the first edition of Collision and the return of CM Punk. And Money in the Bank is this month as well. So we will have a few things next month to talk about, but hopefully things will have calmed down just a little bit. But that is till then. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again for another installment of the Grap Up.